Welcome to Turku Castle. And first, a few words about us and our museum. We are curators and plan the public program at Turku Castle. Turku Castle is a medieval and Renaissance castle and stronghold. It's maybe the most significant cultural heritage site in Finland and is probably known by everybody here in Finland. And many seem to think that you should visit the castle at least once. But people see it as a symbol of power and somehow without any soft values. And we feel that people also have quite strong preconceived ideas and assumptions what the castle is, what it stands for. And it also, of course, stands for things like liability, it's historical, it's serious, it's also quite prestigious. And we sometimes want to break these images, stir it up a bit, look at the castle from different angles and different sides, and sometimes even bring new and fresh things into the castle.
Museums also, in general, are still sometimes considered as serious places. They are reliable and they have the public's trust. In this presentation we ask, can museums maintain that trust if they add a little bit of craziness and an element of fun in what they do? What can museums achieve when they add a spoonful of sugar into the content design? We approach these questions in the perspective of museum education and museum content design through the lenses of edutainment. Edutainment can be understood as a combination of words education and entertainment. It refers to any form of entertainment that is educational. The goal of edutainment is to make learning enjoyable and fun. It has been used by institutions to spread information in classrooms or in media to influence viewers' opinions and behavior. In this presentation, we show some cases, what we have done in the field of museum edutainment, which in our opinion have influenced viewers and museum visitors' opinion towards museum. Nowadays, there's a lot of discussion about the role of emotions in the museum experiences. Exhibitions are designed in a way they would provoke emotions, make visitors feel they can identify to the lives of contemporary people, understand their sorrow, pride, passion, and etc. We consider that the role of emotions is equally important when it comes to the museum's other contents also. Often we engage emotions like sadness, abandonment, oppression, or anger. We argue that happiness is an equally powerful emotion. Emotions like enthusiasm, awe, and joy are the key ingredients to learning. Since our museum is so well known and many have visited it, we need to plan our public program so interesting that it attracts visitors again and also they gain new audiences. When planning contents, it is vital to plan contents that you believe in. So we argue that it doesn't hurt if those contents also make you smile or even laugh. To plan museum contents like education and events, communication or exhibition, it is important to remember the fun factor, because museums should be considered fun places where you go to enjoy. We have noted that in content planning, it is easier when you have the support of whole organization. If the project does not go well, if it does not reach the audience, the whole staff stands behind you. And also, if it's a success, it is a shared experience as well. The importance of staff is also crucial when brainstorming contents. Usually, the best ideas do not come to mind when you have a meeting. They come at lunch break, sharing thoughts in the hallways. You know what I mean. good ideas cannot be forced, and they never can come up at long meeting when you sit down to come up with crazy thoughts. And the more you do these crazy things and ideas, the easier it gets, and you get the rest of the staff behind you.
And I will now give you a few case examples. And I'll start with our video, You Can't Touch This. It's, of course, a well-known MC Hammer song from the beginning of the 1990s. And we made our own version of it, and it all started with our clothes. We have these historical clothes and dresses made for different events, and they depict different periods in the history of the castle. And I got new clothes, and when I put them on, I just said as a joke to a friend or a colleague that I look exactly like MC Hammer in those pants and in that jacket. And then we started talking about this and joking about it, and somebody came up with the idea about, hey, you can't touch this. That's what we say to people in the museums all the time. Oh, you can't touch this. Nope, don't touch that. Nope, don't touch that. And then we came up with the idea that, hey, we should make a music video.
Music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me. What am I to rhyme and to hype me? It feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Oak Town, and I'm known as such. And this is a beat you can't touch.
Of course, nobody knew how to make a video. Nobody knows how to dance or anything like this, but this was a fun idea, and somehow we got others involved and engaged in the whole idea. And we even got the museum director to dance or perform in the video. So we had the whole staff behind us, and that's why we could go on with this crazy idea. And we had a fun day while shooting it, and I think that in the video you can really see that we had a great time doing it. There's nothing serious about it, it's just fun. And we learned from this video that if you have a crazy idea, go for it, do it, realize it. And of course we were a bit afraid what kind of comments or what kind of reactions we would get, because, well, after all, we represent Turku Castle, this prestigious, serious, old fortress. And but we got almost only positive reactions. Of course, some find it silly or dumb or maybe even, in a way, inappropriate. But most people seem to really like it.
Let's all do the bump. Yeah, you can't touch this.
And for us, this was a fun thing to try out and to do. And but we noticed afterwards that this is a good marketing tool, even though it was not intended as such. And we have also heard from teachers that some teachers use this video, show it to their pupils before they come to the museum or before they go to any museum, not only Turku Castle, because after all, even though this is a fun thing, it has a message anyway, and it's a way to show our clothes, to show our museum, to show our castle, and it's also a way to teach, of course, that you can have fun in museums, but please don't touch. The other, or the second case I wanted to talk about is a small robot. His name is Eikka. And since our museum center of Turku is a big organization, and we don't know everybody who works here, and we don't really know what everybody does, and we have about 120 persons working here, so it's obvious that everybody don't really know everybody else. So that's why we came up with the idea of this little robot. And he visits everybody. He lives in a small cardboard box, and we send him from person to person all around the museum. We've made a list of names, and so you always send it to the next one on the list. And when he comes to somebody in our staff, he or she takes a few pictures of what they are doing at the moment, what the work involves, and together with Eikka. And then Eikka posts them on his Instagram page. And one thing that we emphasize in the letter that we put with him in the box is that if you don't want to take pictures of your work or of yourself with Eikka, you don't have to. Just send him to the next one. This is not anything that we force people to do. We don't force people to somehow try to be funny or have fun. But if you want to show and tell what you're doing, then you can take a few pictures with Eikka and send him to the next one. And Eikka takes you behind the scenes, and he is a real museum worker, but he has an important message and a role. But he tells it in a light and also fun way. And there is actually a reason why he's a robot, because in that way he can be amazed and also of the work that is done here, and also see that there are real people doing these jobs, and that you have to be a real person to do these jobs, and that we have a lot of tasks and chores in the museum that cannot be replaced or made by robots. And the next case is Party Like It's 1648 or Baroque Disco. The idea was born when we discussed how those living in the castle in its heyday in the 16th and 17th century, how they would live here if it was today. What kind of parties would they throw? What kind of music would they listen to? Who would perform here at the parties and so on? So that's how we came up with the idea of mixing contemporary music and contemporary parties with historical with history and historical dinners and parties. So we basically turned the King's Hall into a nightclub. So we had 3 DJs mixing club hits with Baroque music. And the King's Hall was also the place where the court of Duke John had their dinners and parties in the mid-16th century. So the King's Hall was actually the perfect place to turn into a modern disco or a club. And people who came dressed in everything from accurate historical clothes and outfits to completely wild fantasy things, and also just modern clothes for partying and clubbing. So we had everything from accurate 16th century people to modern people and everything in between. And afterwards we said that, well, we created the event, but it was the audience that made it into a success. Of course, we can only hope that it would turn out well. We could only hope that the audience would see the event in the same way as we somehow saw it in our heads. And they actually did, and it was a great success. And the feedback that came was overwhelming. One customer even said that this is the greatest thing that has happened in Turku in the last 500 years. And now it seems that the audience and customers want more of this. And maybe we'll someday do something like this, but not copy this one. This was a one-off thing. We already did it. We won't make the same Baroque disco again, but maybe we'll take some ideas from it. And it was also a big project, quite a time-consuming project, and frankly quite expensive. So it's not something that can be copied and recreated all the time or be done quickly. The previous 2 cases that I talked about were planned a long time, or for quite a long time, and time-consuming, and so on. But then I'll give you a few examples that we did quite fast, and because we had to react quick. Of course, everybody knows that last spring the pandemic, the COVID-19, shut down the museums, but we wanted to somehow produce content. We wanted to, well, people to remember us even though we are not open, or we were not open at that time. So the second, or the following 2 examples that I have were made last spring, and were in a way, things that we had to come up with quite quickly. First, we had the Pass the Brush challenge. And the Pass the Brush challenge is something that was trending last spring, for example, TikTok. And we decided to make our own version. So we came up with the idea quite quickly and got people behind it. So we contacted people from our staff that who wants to be a part of this thing and so on. So just only a few days after we got the idea, we could already publish the finished thing.
They don't know if it's coming or going. There is fashion, there is fact. Some is good, some is bad. And the joke is rather sad that it's all just a little bit of history.
So this was something that we reacted quickly and got it out to the public. And again, we got positive reactions, and we hopefully at least broke some of the preconceptions of museums being old-fashioned, dull and dusty. And maybe we even reached a younger audience with this Pass the Brush challenge. And my last example is our guide battle between Turku Cathedral and Turku Castle. It was intended to be a live guided tour at the at the cathedral, and I was supposed to interrupt the guided tour and start to talk about the castle, and that was the whole idea and concept. So it was supposed to be a live thing. But because of the pandemic, we couldn't do it live. So instead of just forgetting about the idea, we then turned it into a short film or a video. So the Cathedral of Turku and the castle are both very well-known symbols of the city of Turku, and they are almost the same age and both play a very important role in Finnish and Swedish history as well. So this is now a playful argument or a battle between the castle and the cathedral. So in fact, we throw facts at each other. We try to be, in a way, better, older, more important, more significant than the other. And because our strength lies in knowing the history of the places and in the content, we did not film or edit it ourselves because, well, we thought that this should be done in a professional way. So we had a professional to do that part, and of course it costs, but I think that it shows in the final product that it was made well. But our strength lies in facts, and so the whole thing, even though it is quite a fast video, it's maybe, well, also quite fun, and it's not that boring. It's completely based on facts. So we actually throw facts at each other, facts that can be checked and so on if you get interested and want to know more about either one of these places. But it is made with a twinkle in the eye. Of course, we could have made it in a more traditional way. We could have made somebody talk about the history of the cathedral, and then it happened this, and then happened that, and so on. But we believe that in this way, we reached a larger audience, and maybe they learned more also.
So in this presentation we asked, can museums maintain the public's trust even if they add a little bit of craziness and having fun in what they do? And I think our answer is yes. Don't you think? Yes, they can. Just go for it and take the leap of faith and have a courage to try, because even if it fails, nobody will die. This is only a museum work. It's going to be fun, it's important, but nobody dies. So in our experience, having fun, it's really important, and doing things with a twinkle in the eye.